I'm just naturally competitive. I always want to win. It's fun being at the top. It's fun to celebrate. You know, who doesn't like to win? One's a dive bar, one's a neighborhood bar, one's like a cocktail bar. You know, it's been a constant development of my job, but also of myself. You know, you can make a great cocktail and people will be like, yeah, that's a great drink. But, you know, you show them that wow factor one time, they're bringing every one of their friends. They're bringing.
So today, what we have coming up is an interview with the winner of the Dallas SpeedRailz tournament. As you know, we've been on a statewide campaign finding the best bartender in each of our major cities. This guy, Allan, is someone who's been a part of the ecosystem for about a year now. He's someone who's really benefited and leveraged the system to the maximum capabilities that it really provides, being able to network with some of the bartenders, using some of the content to help build his brand, as well as get a chance to connect with some of the spirit partners that operate within this industry. But on top of that, just a hard worker. He's a guy who has taken some of the rule sets and used it to make himself a better bartender. But here in his interview, he breaks down all of that, shares his story, and talks about how he plans on becoming extremely competitive in the state championship. So go ahead and check out this interview, and make sure you like, subscribe, and follow on the channel. My man, Allan, tell me, my man, we're out here in Dallas where you recently won the title, Best Bartender in Dallas, man. Tell us, what have you been up to since then?
Since winning, I've just been keeping my head down, working. I'm trying to take on a little more responsibility here at Hyde, help out where we need help, and start, you know, with our busy seasons coming up, we have a lot of new hires coming on, so I'm trying my best to, you know, help train them and get them in shape to where we don't really need as much help, less hands in the pot, more money for everybody else.
Grinding.
Yeah.
I mean, aren't you about to be a family man also?
I am, yeah. Me and my girlfriend are expecting a child in December, so really excited about that too. Stoked.
Is that why you're grinding so hard right now?
Yeah, sure. Most definitely, yeah.
But I mean, even leading up to this point, man, I know when I first met you, when you first signed for SpeedRailz back in summer 2024, he was working at a dive bar, Vitruvian Tavern. Now you're here at this cocktail craft bar, inner city, and you're doing stuff like working in a commissary, man. What has been that transition been like?
Oh man, the transition from, you know, what I used to do day to day to what I'm doing now, it's been a ride. I've learned to just kind of take everything with a grain of salt, listen to the people who've doing it longer than me, and even some of the newer guys. You know, they might have a little tidbit of information that I just don't know. So my biggest thing has just been learning from everybody, keeping my head down, reading a book, taking some classes, you know, doing everything I can to better myself in every aspect of this game. There's a lot of aspects. So.
And I know you're a guy that's not shy about pulling up on other bartenders and learning from them. Has that been an instrument in your process, kind of doing some industry networking within the city?
Oh yeah, for sure. You know, since SpeedRailz started, that kind of kicked off the community for me, and then just from there, you know, one guy introduces you to another, introduces you to a girl that's bartending here tonight. Oh, there's a guest shift here. Oh, it's a pop-up. So kind of going out and seeing what these people are doing with like their menus, their themes, you know, how they're playing into it, their, you know, their sponsorships, their brands that they're bringing in, and just seeing like they can build this community around, you know, it's given me some ideas. It's taught me a lot. You know, just the other night, one of my friends, he threw his own little guest shift, built his own menu, 3 drinks, kept it nice and simple, built it from scratch, and it was killer. All 3 drinks were great. Everybody there had a great time. So I'm like, okay, that's really what it takes. I got it.
And I know even before bartending, weren't you like a pig farmer or something like that?
Yeah, yeah. I've had my hand in many jobs. I've done just about anything you can think of. You know, I was a janitor at one point. Worked in warehouses, farms. I lived on a cow farm for like 5 years. I worked on a pig farm.
That's significant.
Yeah, you know, and then I've just done service industry since I was like 14. My mom kicked me off early. You know, I worked under the table, got paid in cash, just bussing tables, washing dishes, you know, helping my mom out. So, you know, I've just kind of learned, you can learn a lot of things from any other job that can apply to any aspect of life. I mean, you can learn anything today or tomorrow. So I think that's one of the biggest things I've learned is just be a student in everything. You know, you can learn from whoever and whatever.
And what made you want to sign up for a competition, a job, occupational competition?
That was just kind of me. Hearing about it and seeing a competition, I'm like, I'm just naturally competitive. I mean, anything. I'm competitive with my friends, you know, I'm competitive with my dad. I mean, we play golf all the time and I'm always trying to win. So that's just like my competitive nature. I always want to win. It's fun being at the top. It's fun to celebrate. You know, who doesn't like to win? So when I heard there was a competition for what I was doing for work, I'm like, yeah, that might be really fun. And at the time I enjoyed bartending, you know, I still enjoy it, but I was like, getting to do a competition was something I enjoy. I think it'll be fun. Watching the first SpeedRailz in Dallas, I didn't get to attend in person, but I watched it on the live stream, and I got to watch. And you know, I had a couple of friends here videoing it, showing me, and I'm like, that actually looks like it's a lot of fun. I kind of want to go out.
You're thinking like, yeah, I could take all of them.
Oh, 100%. No doubt.
This is who's winning?
Yeah, no doubt in my mind. I was watching, I'm like, mopped, you're slow, yeah. So I wholeheartedly believed, and I told myself the next time SpeedRailz came to Dallas, I was signing up and I was gonna win. Didn't win my first time, didn't win my second time, but finally got around to it.
And what was it like? Because I mean, every time we saw you, you got a whole lot better. And so what was that like in between, you know, from where you started to, of course, eventually winning?
You know, when I started and after my first one, I had a lot of nerves, I was shaky, I was a little more nervous than anything. I felt like I hadn't fully prepared myself. So when we were done and then you kind of told us you were coming back eventually, I was like, all right, I'm gonna put my head down and work. And then you kicked off the last man standing in Austin, and I signed up, got in there. And as soon as I was signed up and ready, I just practiced and I studied and I learned, and you know, I watched film. I watched, you know, Jose, he's like, you know, one of the fastest in this. And so I watched every one of his game tapes and watched, you know, what's he doing at the start? What's he doing in between? You know, he's keeping both hands busy. So I'm like, all right, I got to practice doing that. You know, get your left hand in the game. Start doing some crazy shit. If you fuck up now, you know, if you drop something now, at least you're doing it in practice and not in the real thing. So I just kept my head down, kept working. Felt like I proved myself in the last man standing, and that kind of opened some doors for me. And then just from there, I just kept working. You know, going from job to job, and each place since my first one has been a different concept. You know, one's a dive bar, one's a neighborhood bar, one's like a cocktail bar. Now I'm here doing craft stuff, and you know, these more intricate, more intimate. You know, we talk to a lot of people here to explain everything on our menu. So you know, it's been a constant development of my job, but also of myself, learning along the way, picking up ideas. So,
what would you say your strong point as a bartender is now?
Oh man, I mean, I feel like my strong point as a bartender has always kind of been the same. I'm just me. I feel like I am, you know, I'm not the most over-the-top, showy bartender, but I'm also, you know, I pride myself on getting to everybody as quick as I can, you know, getting their drinks, getting to know them. And then now I'm kind of developing this, you know, little bit of love for the showiness of it, you know. I always kind of looked at it as corny before. I'm like, nobody, why are you doing that? Nobody cares. But then you look at the guest's face when they do it, you know, they're blowing bubbles from bubble guns. They're serving it in a bird cage with smoke coming out. And I'm like, man, that's corny. And then you look at the guests and they're like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest thing ever. And I looked at that and I was like, maybe I need to try something like that. So, you know, I've been like working, experimenting. We got like a random, just massive clamshell here. So now I've been filling it with pebble ice. I'll throw shots in it, set it on fire, serve it to the guests. You know, if it's like their birthday or they're celebrating, you know, it kind of, I'm starting to learn, like, people really love that thing. That's kind of what sets you apart, makes you different, makes you special in this industry, is if you can do those things to really make somebody's night different. You know, you can make a great cocktail and people will be like, yeah, that's a great drink. I'll come back eventually. But, you know, you show them that wow factor one time, they're bringing every one of their friends, they're bringing their parents, their family, they're bringing, you know, they'll come back for a date, they'll do this just because of that one wow. You know, that really wins people over. So that's kind of the thing I've learned.
And I feel like a lot of bartenders nowadays, they've gotten out of touch with that regular building process, because if you lock in a regular, I mean, that could be a customer for the next 10 years, probably the rest of your life.
Oh, for sure. I wholeheartedly agree with that. You know, the bars I started at and the bars I came from, that's kind of what we relied on most, you know. Sure, we had, you know, new people every day, but you can count on those regulars being there 3, 4, 5, 6 times a week. That's a constant cash flow, you know. Don't look at them like they're money. No, they're people, but it's like for your money side of things, yeah. I'm like, you're constantly building that. And now, you know, I've changed jobs 3 times since my first SpeedRailz. I still have regulars from Vitruvian Park Tavern coming to see me here. They went to go see me at Law. They went to come see me here. They pulled up on my guest shifts, you know. So it's like, yeah, wholeheartedly believe that building regulars can build a solid foundation just for yourself as a bartender, no matter where you go.
And I know you said you had a chance to work at a few places since Vitruvian Tavern, but it seems like you've settled in here at Hyde. What makes this place so special?
I feel like this is the place. There is something special about Hyde. I feel like I have learned more here in, you know, the short amount of time that I've been here than have ever in the industry. I'm constantly learning something new technique, new cocktails, new riffs. You know, we constantly have new spirits coming in. You know, everybody's trying to change up the game in spirits, and here I feel like I'm one of the first hands on it, you know. And so doing that, you know, along with, you know, my coworkers here, fantastic, Gabe and Sticks, you know, we all get along. We're like brothers now. We all just, you know, coming to work doesn't really feel like work anymore. So here we're just, you know, and now we're constantly, we're getting ready to ramp up for our pop-up. And so now we're going to start R&D and, you know, really get some more team bonding going on. So Hyde is a special place, man. Not just because of the drinks, not just because of the food, not just because of the people. It's kind of a mix of all.
And I know Gabe was somebody who was also in Last Man Standing, and I think that was where you guys had a chance to connect, and he's the beverage director over here. What's it been like working with him?
Oh, man, it kind of depends on how you look at it. No, me and Gabe, we get along, but, you know, we kind of sit there, we banter, we go back and forth.
Yeah, he got a smart-ass mouth.
Oh, yeah, he does. I mean, but so do I. So I think that's kind of why we get along so well. You know, we're both just constantly talking smack back and forth. But that's kind of what's good about it, you know, because we're hard on each other without being an asshole about it, because, you know, we'll notice like little things about each other and just kind of call it out, but in a joking way. But I've realized we both will look at it and fix it the next time. Now, he called me out on, you know, dating and labeling our bottles. He was like, hey, why don't you do it this way, idiot? And I'm like, all right, calm down. And then I did it. And it's just like those small little minor adjustments that we're constantly pushing each other to be better and better. So, you know, working with Gabe and after meeting him the first time and then coming to work for him during the Christmas pop-up last year and now being full-time, I mean, it's been great. Love the guy, you know?
That's dope, man. And I know you're in the industry. You've been here for a minute, man. Where do you kind of see yourself in this industry in 2 to 5 years?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, you know, 2 to 5 years is a long way away. I have you know, if you look at my resume, you'll see I don't hang out at many places for very long. So wish I could say, you know, I'll be here in 2 years and hopefully upper management, you know, have my hand in the pot, but I don't, probably not. You know, unrealistically, I want to own my own place, have my own bar. It's not very realistic in the next 2 to 5 years, especially with a kid on the way, so I know some things in my life are about to change. But I know in 2 to 5 years, I'll still be doing this somewhere. Hopefully managing, hopefully making a little more money, not having to be as busy and busting my ass as much. Now I just get to sit there and delegate it.
Tell these young dudes what to do.
Yeah, you know, hopefully I get to, that's kind of what I've always started inspiring myself in like the last year and a half. Taking these younger kids and trying to inspire them, show them something, teach them something. You know, because the way I was taught, probably you were taught, you know, Gabe and the way all of us were taught was, you know, we got shit thrown at us. We got yelled at, cussed out. You know, we had to do all the dirty work, but it didn't seem like they were teaching us. And like now that we're here, it's like, you know, it could be real easy for us to just kind of do that to these new kids, or we can, you know, do it in a way they'll understand and help them, you know, build themselves up a little quicker. So that's kind of, you know, I like the management role. I don't like the word management. I kind of prefer, you know, leadership. You know, leading a team is different than managing a team. Yeah. That's kind of what I always like to do. I like to be at the head front, you know, showing these kids, you know, what it kind of takes. So, you know, that's kind of what I have visioned for myself in the next 2 to 5.
And speaking of the younger generation, you know, there's a lot of young guys, young men, young ladies who are watching these industry interviews, and they're always looking for inspiration. But go ahead and give me just one piece of advice you would give to maybe even a small town bartender who's looking to do more.
Take the leap. Don't be scared. You know, if you don't know what you're doing, don't lie. Just get in there. Dive in head first. Crash and burn. You will learn so much faster from failure than you will sitting back and being scared. Because you can sit there and read a book, you can take a class, you can do this, you can say you have all this experience, but until you dive in head first and fail and fail and fail and fail, you're not really learning anything. So that's my word of advice for you. Just fail.
And you know, we're filming this before the state championship goes down. We haven't figured out who the Austin winner is yet, but we know Dustin is going to be representing Houston. We have Rye representing San Antonio. Of course, you represent Dallas. What are your thoughts on the state championship? And of course, this competition isn't done yet.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not done, and you know, I'm looking forward to see who's winning Austin. I saw the competitors list for the qualifier, and I got my eye on a few people. I know some of them. Some of them, they're kind of new guys that I don't really know much about, so I'm excited to see about Austin. Dustin, I mean, that guy, you know, you've done videos on him. I've talked to him. I've met him in person. That guy knows what he's doing. You know, he's running 2 successful businesses. He's got crazy cocktails going on. I watched his game tape. He's pretty smooth. He's pretty accurate. He's know what he's doing. And then, you know, obviously Raya, she's just a killer, man. You know, she just got second place at Tails doing speed rack. So it's like, you know, she knows what she's doing. So I kind of feel like I'm coming into this one the underdog a little bit, you know. But I'm not counting myself out at all. I've been putting in the work. I've been keeping my head down. I've been practicing, you know, maybe not SpeedRailz practice every day, but movement practice, getting used to things practice, doing everything the way I do it during competition at work. So building that muscle memory, I feel like, is going to give me maybe a slight edge over these guys. So, I mean.
And for the new people who sign up for SpeedRailz, who, you know, they think they're going to come in at SpeedRailz and kill it because they've been killing it at their bar where they're the best bartender at, what's one piece of advice you would give to them about how they should be preparing for this competition?
Oh, man. First and foremost, definitely learn the rules, learn the recipes. That is what will kill you. I mean, inevitably, it'll kill anybody. You know, I've even seen winners crumble just because they make one mistake and it costs them 2 minutes. You know, so you got to be real careful. Understand your rules. Understand your recipes. Outside of that, it's just learn to adapt, because you might be really good at your home bar. You know where everything is. Once you step into somebody else's bar, you don't know where a single one of those bottles lives. You know, you get 2 minutes to kind of set it up and get it as used to what you have as possible. It doesn't really help that much. So definitely just learn to adapt really quickly. You know, sit there, study, take a picture and imagine it. You know, practice with your eyes closed, going through the motions, what you would do. That'll help you a little bit.
And you're a guy who barely made it out, too. You're a guy who barely made it out. I didn't want to bring it up, but...
Oh, no, you're telling me. I know. I know. That was...
You had a couple instances. I know one round you had a piece of glass that fell on the outskirt of the well. And then the second one you had to go into an overtime, you know, which ultimately you having a higher craft competition score, which, thanks to your experience, you was able to create a great cocktail, but that ended up giving you a second opportunity at taking out the championship.
It's pretty funny talking about it when I tell people that, because going into that competition, I was nervous about the craft portion. It was like the first craft cocktail I had created, like from my own, had nobody's help, just learned. You know, I read, and you know, I pulled stuff from like my childhood. I pulled in my parents. I pulled in the things I love today, and I just brought it all together. And I just kind of hope and prayed it would work. You know, I tasted it, had a couple of different trial runs, and I was like, all right, I got 2 days left. I can't be messing around with it anymore. I got to lock something in, get used to it, learn the story, learn to present it, do all this. And going into it, you know, after watching Gabe and Sticks go and you know, watching them build theirs, because we were all around each other doing it and watching them build theirs, I'm like, oh gosh. Oh man, I might be, all right, looks like I'm fighting for third place now. And then I'm like, all right, well, what about these other cats? And you know, I knew, you know, Emily, she does some of the craft stuff. And then, well, shit, honestly, Tyson came out of left field. I had no clue about that. And then he just came swooping in, you know, he
signed up like the week beforehand. And
just came in and swooped in, just knocked a lot of players off. And I was like, oh, okay. And then, you know, the day of competition, preparing my cocktail, taking it to the judges, you know, explaining it, watching them taste it, I felt a little relieved and I felt pretty confident moving forward into the first speed round. And then when you announced the, you know, the craft winners, and you got, you know, you were counting 5, wasn't me, 4, wasn't me, and I'm like, all right, I made top 3. And then you were like, 3, wasn't me, and I knew it was down between me and Gabe, and I just stared at him. I just looked at Gabe and I was like, I really hope I beat you. I really hope I beat you. And then eventually getting second, you know, going into the speed, you know, I made mistakes. First round, I had a couple of infractions that definitely could have cost me. Second round, broke the glass by the skin of my teeth, grace of John and Jose and Zach and Q.
Us pulling up rules and screenshots.
It was like a 15-minute whole thing. We had to burn the well, reading rules, going through this debate, and it was. So luckily, I got pushed on, moved to the finals barely. And then that finals round, man. I mean, I just
fucked up ticket.
Well, yeah, it was a fucked up ticket. You always fuck up those tickets. No, I mean, I made a mistake. Pushed my shaker tin too far, knocked over a martini, picked it up, made the wrong martini. So turning in, you know, this is where the rules come into play. Turning in two of the exact same drinks cost me like 3.5 minutes instead of having two different drinks. So that really hurt, you know, and that's what inevitably lost me the speed portion. But due to the craft and the balancing of the scores, forced it into the first overtime in SpeedRailz, and you came up with a ticket, and I looked at it and kind of laughed when I flipped it over, and I was like, I got it. I wasn't worried at all. I knew all 6 of those.
You're lucky Jose came up with that ticket. When I saw a ticket, I'm like, man, this bitch-ass ticket, dog.
It really was. Yeah,
it was a sprint.
I flipped it over, and I was like, dude, what is this? This is like the easiest stuff on here. Okay. And then just ran through it.
You know, Jose was like, you know what, let's put 2 stir cocktails on that, because we hadn't had a 2 stir combo yet. So that's kind of things we kind of play around with the tickets, you know what I'm saying? Making sure we have different rotations of the preparation requirements.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think it'd be real funny if you threw in 3 stirred cocktails on one, right? Because you only get 2 stirred.
Yeah,
so, like, what are they going to do?
I haven't prepared for that.
Yeah.
Like,
So, but no, I mean, yeah, luckily the craft scores brought me through, and then that overtime round, man, I was shaken up, nervous, upset. I was mad about everything, and then 3, 2, 1, go, and it just went away. And I was like, you're at work. Look down, flip the ticket, make these all the time, and just
like a 4-minute time.
Yeah,
it was like, it was a good time.
Just got through them, turned them in, stopped the clock, turned around, and I had a feeling I knew I won at that. When I stopped that timer, I knew I won. So, felt good.
There you go, man. Dallas champ, just shared his story, getting ready for the state championship. Appreciate the time, my man.
Of course. Thanks for pulling.
It's gonna be a good championship. I think in October.
Is that when you're aiming for it?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Because I was going to tell you, you cannot do it in December.
No. We got to do it. We got to knock it out.
Yeah, okay. That works.
During the week, though, right?
Of course.
Yeah, it's always on a Tuesday, don't you know?